Hey folks, welcome to the Historical Fencing Guild. I'm your host, Nick Tucker. Now, I've started 5 minutes early to give my system a chance to rattle down and to try to train myself into looking into the new and covered bright light of doom. So I'll wait for the serious content before people get on and really start hopping. Please comment so I know you're there. I've got one person watching, and that's pretty cool. So whoever is watching, dig it. Also, do not be afraid of the like button. So, because this is going to get me more notoriety, more stuff out there. I'm just going to get, like I said, I'm giving it about 5 minutes. I wanted to see if it was going to roll right. We've been having internet outages all day. The power's flickered, so we'll just try to get through this looming storm of doom and keep this on the roll. Today's episode, for the people who are waiting, is going to cover a few things. We're going to cover some questions that I have received from my the Historical Fencing Guild public group. We're going to cover some questions I received from my personal group. Subjects like sword canes. We're going to talk briefly about the legality as I understand it. I am not a lawyer, so please check your locals. What I like about them, what I don't like about them, and a few, how to work with a sword cane for defense, how to practice, because it's far more challenging than people want to admit. And then we'll get into some more practical defense stuff and question answering. And if you see me reach over, it's because I have my cell phone running, let me make sure it's off. Yes, running my messenger just in case this crashes for the people on the guild who can show up. So we got two people. Welcome aboard. Okay, I'm going to please comment. I only know that people are here. I don't know who is here and what you'd like. So bear with me. It's all going to be there. I will try to pretty this up in post. I'm learning about live streaming. I've always done it. Prepare, reshoot. This is a new experience for me. And like I said, I'm still a couple minutes early, just giving folks time to rattle through. And whoever we had, we lost. Typical. Okay. So what are we going to talk about? Let's talk about defending yourself. Right now, the coronavirus has a lot of people scared. And when people are scared, they do dumb things. So when you're a little scared, but not panicking, you get in sort of this zone of hypervigilance. Hopefully you can train into vigilance, but if it's not, you get this hypervigilant. You're looking for what's going to go wrong next. It burns a lot of energy. It interferes with sleep. Part of what you can do to fight that nagging panic is to give yourself some things you can do, steps you can take that make you feel you've accomplished something, you're more prepared. Knowing yourself lets you respond to these. So, what I got, and I guess I'll just start going, we have 2 more minutes before official logon time. But one thing I got was people asking about how to use a cane in HEMA style applications. Now, there are a lot of canes on the market you can use. Now, I'm a big proponent of the straight cane in that it's very similar to what they call a Joe staff. It's very similar. It is a base weapon. It's one of my big base weapons because I believe you should train with what you have access to. What does that mean? If you go to the range and you rent an AK-15, anyway, an AR-15, I've been watching way too many channels lately, and you shoot with that every week, you love it, and you have an AK at home, well, you're going to have some problems making sure that, where you've trained your thumb, you're not going to find the firing selector switches, things like that. If you train with a great sword all the time, it's great, but if you have to use a shorter weapon to defend yourself, you're going to find that your ranges are off, your calibration is off. So you need to match to the best your tool with what you train with. And that can be very, very difficult for some people. So, I have in the past, and many people on this channel have seen what I call my cheap staff trainer. It is simply a piece of PVC with feet, and it has end caps at the end, rope tied off to give me grip training, let me know where my ends are, and I use that quite effectively. Now, why am I going to that? Because one of the first weapons that most people have for self-defense in a situation where they're not thinking about what they have to defend themselves, and it is officially 8 o'clock my time, so we are rolling, and I'm hoping people come rolling in. And until then, I will keep talking to this blinking light. Anyway, the weapons that you have access to are what you should train with. Now, people don't understand that most times closet rods are removable. So, if a closet rod is removable, maybe you should train with something like this. This is approximately closet rod length. I just had several swords attack my back tarp just as soon as we're online proper. That's great. As you can see, I've stopped this up so people stop asking me about what's behind. And several of my props fell over, so it's going to be a little more challenging. What I did is I put feet on the end because this is what's going to get scuffed up. This is how I make my walking staffs, and I can just about fit it on screen. Cool. Assume the ends are still there. You have all your motion. You can train with this, and it hangs in your apartment, in your house. You open your closet, you look at the rod. If it's removable, hey, try removing it. You can practice it, and then you can put it back. We live in a world where weapons are going to be monitored, and especially people think in terms of firearms. And I'm pro 2A. I'll say it. It's not popular on this format, but I'm pro 2A with the caveat of if you're going to use something, you should train with it. And there are a lot of people who are right now trying to get into it, and they're finding out just how difficult the legal hurdles are. So they need stopgaps. I'm very good at improvising stopgaps, which is why I'm mentioning this. Now, I have videos on staff work. I'll do a full dedicated video on working with a short staff in the simple style, because this is going to be in the strong sword, which I am working on like right now. That is one of my big projects during this this confinement, this quarantine. So we're going to go over that. We're going to train with what we have access to. And that's why I have different props out. So again, I see people come on. One, please like this video so that YouTube will spread it out so that I can get more notice. And two, please comment. And I'm pointing at the block like you see, so I can see who's here. I want this to be a conversation, not just me talking to a camera like I have for years. And the benefit is that we have feedback. I'm offering what I know. I want to know what you know. I want opinions. So we're going to talk about that. Now, our next conversation, closet holes, think about it, is, let me move. I have a lot of props today. We're going to talk about this. This is why I picked it for the thing. This is my personal favorite sword cane. Now, it isn't the only sword cane I own, and I will never probably show all the sword canes I own. Now, I live in the state of Indiana, and I, a few years ago, spoke to the chief of police of Michigan City and asked personally about sword canes. And everything I've seen is they are considered legal. You have to be careful, because some cities, some states are very anti any weapon, including, well, sword canes and knives and anything else. Part of the reason why I switched to a fixed blade was carrying an assisted open in Michigan was for a period of time a felony. Now, to prove to you that this is indeed a sword cane, and there's a very lovely story behind it. This is a sword cane. Has about a 14-inch blade outside of the grip. This is one of my favorites because it was given to me by the widow of a man by the name of Jesse Tibbetts, who was a dear, dear friend, and I was saddened by his loss. And this is never terribly far from me. But it also it demonstrates the pros of a sword cane. It demonstrates the negatives of a sword cane. Now, the pros of a sword cane is you were carrying conveniently. Thank you for the like. I just saw that come up. I really do appreciate it. And like I said, please comment questions, whatever. I can semi-multitask. But one of the problems with the sword cane, especially this style, is being able to unscrew it. A sword cane is a weapon of surprise. This is something you carry when you don't think you're going to have trouble, but you don't necessarily want to be caught flat-footed. The problem with most sword canes is the release. Now, some are tension, where you just pull it, and those can come unsheathed on their own in the most inappropriate times. There are other models that are push button and release that they have a little hook. They're very handy. I don't have any of them on me. But when you have a sword cane, you need to think of a couple factors. And this is before we get into using it as a weapon. Why are you carrying it? For me, I have what I consider variable mobility. Some days I can walk, even jog a little bit. I wouldn't call it running. I'm too chunky for that. But I can move with relative speed. There are other days where I can't make it to the bathroom unassisted. I'm still battling the wheelchair, and that's something that battle motivates me, in that I don't want to surrender that step if I can avoid it. We'll see what happens. But when I carry a sword cane, which this is, like I said, my favorite, I know I have the benefit of a weapon of quite functional nature. The problems with it: one, sword canes are rarely as discreet as people think they are, because many of them have a bit of rattle to them. Depending on the company, the price, there's a little bit of rattle. Another thing to think about in terms of a sword cane, and I'm going to just put my favorite one over. Let me see. Is it going to stay? Because I really don't want to drop it, although I've had to. It's come in handy. My first sword cane. This was my first sword cane. I bought this myself in Michigan City. The foot kept falling off during moving, so I had to improvise with duct tape, and I just simply have it taken off. Now, the other problem with this, again, spin, spin, spin. Excuse me, sir, let me unsheath my sword. This is the grip. The grip on this, and both of these are very inexpensive relative sword canes, is a right-angled grip. That means right-angled weapon. This is 90 degrees from almost all my sword fighting style. That's problematic. Now, when I say sword cane, I want to correct something. I don't consider most sword canes actually swords. What do I mean? Well, we're going to just rotate around. We're going to talk about this. How sturdy are the sword parts of sword canes? Hi, Trelana. Sorry, I get talking and I lose track. That depends on the... I'm typing this to you, and it's not even showing up. Trelana, that depends on the maker. Now, mine are both fairly low cost, so the cane part, the sword part, it can be a little flimsy, and that is a major concern. You're going to love what's coming up, by the way, because an old friend of ours is going to do a guest appearance in a way we've never seen it done before. That's right over here. But sword canes are very much something where you put the money into it. Now, if you pay good money and you import a sword cane, you're going to... Well, see, here, again, I'm just showing you two makers, right? We have this sword cane. This cost me 20-something back Before the Y2K, well, actually, right about when Y2K was still something people talked about. But popping it back out, this was very, very cheap. It was a false edge of about a 20% false edge. That's sharp. The rest of it's not. The actual edge is only sharp from here to here. The idea being you could grip it by the blade part, but it's really flimsy. The other part is, and I don't know if you can see it, it's a little loose. Now, it doesn't show, oh, I'm sorry, I had to wipe that off so I don't rust my weapons. Maybe we should train them. But, putting that back, the hook cane ones, they will stand up. I see a lot of sword canes as single-use items, in that many of them you're going to use, and you'll probably lose it to the police after you've gutted a guy. Because you always have to think, what happens after you've defended yourself? Now, this one has a very similar blade. It's probably the same blade, actually. Stainless steel, Taiwan, but no rattle. It was attached better, and they used adhesive. I have held high-end sword canes. I've held Damascus sword canes. It's almost like my more wealthy friends know I love sword canes. So they're like, what do you think of this? And once I get past the grip factor, because I don't care how nice a blade you put on that, this will never be comfortable to fight with. I did spend a lot of time practicing that. But the ones with the little knob are worse. Now, Cold Steel has some mid-range sword canes that hover around the $100 mark. The Night Watchman comes to mind, is a very good sword cane. I, of course, don't own one, and several of my other sword canes are in the realm of lockup. But I ran into a problem, and my problem was this. My gear is trying to fall over. Not that problem, but you know how it is. Okay. How does one train with a sword cane? Because, again, I'm going to get this guy out. I keep trying to put this away, and sword canes are the video. Now, I have given sword canes as gifts. But remember, my definition of a sword is a little different. The blade should be the length of your arm. I'm sitting in my uncomfortable chair. Oh, well. Is barely. I would count this as a sword, but barely. There are some advantages. The full-length sword will not swing for concussive fighters. For the people who want their big chops, your saber guys, will not swing well in a tight confine. This will let you fight ably and aptly in a tight situation. Now, I have seen sword canes that are actually just spike canes. They're about this long, single point. Because you have a fencing background, Trey, you might actually like those better. There isn't an edge to cut with, but it's very, very efficient. It's simple. You can still block. And all the techniques of the simple sword transfer over to sword cane. Now, I was posed a question. It was a delightful question, and I'm going to go into it, and I need a little more room. And the question was, poniards, exactly. How does one fight with the sword cane? Now, here's one of the problems with the sword cane. I have since removed the sword of this. It is, let's see. Okay, you can see. I can still, especially in a fighting stance, use this as a cane. It is uncomfortable on my hand, and if I do it for any length of time, I'll get a very familiar circle. But I can still hold myself up. I can still move. Not all sword canes give you that. You have to think if you're using it for mobility. I have one that has a spring-loaded dagger. It's just lost in the move. That gives you a full mushroom top head. But yes, poniards. Now Trelana says poniards, and those are short dagger spikes. They're handy, wonderful weapons. One of my favorite. And that gets me to, how do you train with one? If you look sword cane trainer up, like you'd look any sword up, you will not find any. And if you do find some, please send me the link. I've yet to find one, and I have in the past planned to make one, and I got derailed. I'm just going to put this here because I keep going for it, and it is sheath. So I did something else. Da 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 da. This Trelena should recognize. The rest of you will recognize it in a moment for what it is. This is just a chunk of PVC. It's a little long because this is actually the sheath for my the travel sheath for my Elven Thin Blade, which I might highlight. Yeah, see. Hi, Joe. What about flipping the cane to something a little better to hold on rather than... Well, okay, if you flip the cane... So, hi, Joe. Joe made a comment. If you flip the cane, you run into a different problem. Okay. You guys have no idea how much weaponry is surrounding me right now because I have several comments I wanted to cover. But, so we'll get back to the part Trey's Harding. This, I flip the cane. This grip, oh, that's much nicer. It's the standard top of any of my canes. But now I'm trying to balance myself on a slick metal ring. That could, now if I'm outdoors, if it's, dirt, I might have a chance. But this is going to get really slick really quickly on concrete. And it will also scuff the heck out of any wood I'm on. So that's why I would rather take the little bit of discomfort than risk a fall, because I do not want to fall during a fight. A lot of people train from the ground, fight from the ground. If I go to the ground, it is a bad, bad thing because I'm not likely to get up with any speed or dexterity. So I have to stay upright. I still try to train from the ground a bit. My buddy Steve is somewhere laughing at me for that. But I hope that answers your question. Now, back to the part that Trelena hopefully was Harding. And if not, she will be. This is what's affectionately called a flexi dagger. I fenced with this particular weapon for many, many, many years. We're going on 20 years with this same blade. It is incredibly stiff. Has a little tip. But this is also roughly getting the sword cane back out. You guys, I think you're going to make me draw and unsheath this sword cane so much that that I'm going to have to acquire a higher end. Look at the blade length. Why do you think I like flexi daggers? 17.5-inch blade. Trelena, do you think you know how to make this go now? Does that just get your heart going? I know it gets mine. This is a standard flexi dagger. This is a standard fencing poniard / dagger blade. You can order these, the blade part relatively cheap. When all this settles down, by all that is holy, I'm going to make up my fencing sword cane. I just got put off. It's one of my projects for this summer. That is all the love. That is all love, Trey. So I know, when I say I know what this can do, intimately, because I've been fighting with one of these forever. It also makes me want to design one. If I do, I might take commissions to make a few for select individuals, because it will be to my standards, not the world's. And we're putting that back. And you have the stick. So I'm going to grip this so I'm not swinging live steel. One of the most important people in my world, my dad. He's asked, can you defend? Okay, sword cane. And I'm just going to sheath it for the purpose. Okay, you're walking, yada, yada, yada. Oops, bad guys. Does this work? Absolutely. What you're going to do with the sword cane, because remember, the downside of stick or cane fighting is retention. Anytime you have something that isn't edged, the bad guy can try to take it away from you, especially in self-defense. But you can use this. What happens is you end up in this kind of stance. And it's altered slightly. I would be standing much lower, but I need to be in frame. All this is doing is stopping anything they want to do to you. This is a windshield wiper. You'll find this in George Silver's paradoxes of defense when he's talking about dagger fighting. You'll find it mentioned in Fiore. Fiore's parry dagger. Loves this. So this is ancient secrets. Take stick. Go like this. As long as you're blocking away from you, you can. So what are you doing? This hand is parked. This is the stinger of the scorpion. It has one job. Poke the bad guy. This keeps things from hitting you. That's how you two weapons fight as a new person. They are so convoluted, and that's great when you've been doing it a while. But when you're just starting out, what you want is you want to be able to control a weapon come at you. This can deflect the fist. I can still take the cane part and bonk somebody beside the head, especially as a less than lethal. You're saying this is the deterrent. They're looking at this, bonk, bring the pain down. That's fine. But you really want to set that 1-2, bam. And you practice things like this, sweep down. I'm having a little trouble because of my angles. But that's why I wrote the simple sword the way I did. Dagger fighting, dagger and stick, is designed to simulate defending yourself with a sword cane. It's why I'm very particular about the lengths. It's very particular about the grip. This is very minimalistic grip. I had to have a guard on it, so this was my backup fencing dagger for a long, long time. This lived on a little sheath at the small of my back, in part because I have a tendency to drop things. It's part of the wrist and arm damage. Now I'm going to show you something else. Parry fencing dagger, a little high-end, a little expensive. What if we're willing to go slightly short? Now this doesn't come naturally in orange. People who know I train dagger. These are cold steel. This is a cold steel parry dagger. It is probably the finest cold steel trainer made. It is certainly my favorite. Except maybe it's this and then the buckler. If they made a sword with as much flex as this, in a similar style, I would literally buy 10 of them. And Lynn Thompson, if this ever gets to you, look, this is a grip that fits a normal size hand. Most of cold steel stuff is geared towards larger hands. This has enough flex you can not kill people training how to kill. But the blade length is close enough as an approximation that if you're a HEMA guy, if you're used to using synthetic weapons, you can really use one of these to get the feel of this and have the same reach. Gonna draw it again, or close enough as this. Now, I'm betting that ping, which you will hear from time to time, is my messenger. And that I have to check because I have a few people who do not quite YouTube properly. And they asked me to keep an eye. Okay, cool. That was a author I know responding to something. We're good. This is one of the greatest training weapons out there. I'm a big fan. Trelane is a big fan. I should buy a crate load of these because if I were to make a standard weapon, I would do that. Now, before this all started, I will do more videos training with these. If you want me to make a sword cane out of these, comment. Okay? Right now, the sheath is this is just, I want to say 1/4-inch PVC, and it fits the tip nicely. So anybody who transports these guys can use this. Oh, yes. Yes. And it's funny because I know you put quillions in quotation marks because there are a couple words in swordplay that get discussed. And this is off topic, but it's my video, and I can do that. Excuse me. I need a little black cherry. Wonderful stuff. Okay. These are great quillions. These are handy. They're offset. What that does is it teaches a novice. If you don't know how to sword fight, remember that windshield wiper I was talking about? You line, when you're holding it out, you just line this offset forward of your forearm. It keeps that natural 45-degree angle needed for a parry dagger. That alone makes these things just about solid gold. They're nigh indestructible. The only reason mine are orange is one, so many come through my group, and two, it shows up better at night when I do most of my filming. And once the guild is going back, we're going to go back into filming at night. So, if you're a fencer, either you're accustomed to Olympic fencing or you're more SCA theatrical, getting one of these is a good idea. Another thing you can do and make something of your own to train with is a size 0 child-sized fencing foil. Will be much more forgiving. Sorry. That's also on my list to acquire to make training sword kings. I'm going to put this away unless people make comments. And yes, that's me knocking stuff over. It's typical. So, why am I such a proponent for those? Why do I like such short weapons? When you go on YouTube, you will see a lot of people who are addicted to Mire. Mire's a beautiful fighting style, and it's beautiful to watch, but it's very much a duelist fighting style. What I mean is Mire fights in a way that both is set for honorable, from what I've read, more honorable combat, and it's set for a stadium, open, wide field. And, long swords are great for open, wide fields. It's sort of like sniper rifles. They're great for open, wide fields. But you wouldn't want to use a sniper rifle for room clearing as home defense. So you wouldn't want to use a greatsword for home clearing because you're going to get tangled up trying to get through doors. Now, what would I say then? Because this was another comment question. Whatever should somebody use for home defense, and then what should they train with? Well, let's talk about back to what people use. You have, I'm going to grab a bit of sci-fi technology over here in the historical fencing guild. This is the Minbari Battle Broom. This is a real item I made for my wife in that I acquired the parts and assembled. I made it the way that AR guys call themselves gunsmiths. I bought some parts and put them together. But nobody I'd seen did this. You see, my wife is short. Even shorter than me, that is possible. So, let me get way back here. This does that. So, to my height, yeah. It is nearly an eyebrow height. Let me pull this back in a bit. I'm off camera. About eyebrow height. It is of relatively sturdy metal construction. It's aluminum. It's not going to win any prizes. But, except for the head, which is just a cheap dollar store broom, this lets her reach hard to reach things. This also gives me a wonderful tool for explaining when you are looking for a weapon, okay, to defend yourself, and you're in a situation where I have no weapons. I used to, back in the old days when the garage was really, really interesting, I would take new people and say, how would you arm yourself? And they'd almost say I'd grab the axe that's over there or the hammer. Hammers are good. Axes are good. Most people don't have them, but they weren't getting the point. Then you have to, what is the weapon in your room? Now, a short-handled broom, okay, works just like a billy club. Okay? This is going to be a short sword. This is going to be a billy club. This is going to let you defend yourself just with, any striking. It's short enough you can swing it You can improvise it, and I can see I am losing my tarp. So I will take just a second, and you guys can laugh at me. I tried to save my background from falling down. Or not. We're just going to do this. Boop. Fine, the background's not falling down anymore. Ha-ha. Yes, you may laugh at the technical errors. They happen for your amusement. But now, something like this, or more like this is a close standard. Short staff. Hey, Nick, you sure teach people short staff along. A broomstick is going to allow you to, you can hold a hallway with a broomstick. A chair to one of my all-time favorite tools, this guy. This guy makes me happy. He's of any of my knife trainers, hits like a mace, has a bunch of batteries, and I can light blind my opponents. This is great. And like I said, you train with what you have. This is located very handy in the middle of my living room at all times for when the power goes out. And whenever the power goes out, boom, cock that guy on. Now, why is it here? This is SCA heavy fighting. Stick is here. Where is it coming from? I've got all these options. Weight is rested. It is out because if I'm holding a stick, and that's my soul. If I'm holding a stick, okay. I really hope whoever got to see that live enjoy it. Just for you guys. Anyway, if I'm holding a stick out, it can be taken away from me. It's back here, and I only throw the shot and snap it back. This is weapon retention. Fun thing. If you ever mildly annoy anyone who's been a police officer, or something goes wrong, you'll see the same thing happen. Yeah, they have computer problems. Same thing. It's this. As soon as they're here, and I'm going to be on, they go, whoa, now. It's funny. That is weapon retention. When I first met a guy by the name of Dale Dreesen back in the SCA days, he was confused because there was a loud bang, and he did that. So I asked him how long he was a cop. Did not know it was a sordid question. But that's a tell. Knowing tells about people is useful. One moment, please, now that my whole attempt at the background has fallen. You can put a flashlight like this in every room of your house. All people will think is, wow, they're prepared for if the power goes out. No relatives are going to look at you funny. No police are going to look at you funny. No visitors are going to look at you funny. And you don't really have to worry about kids all that much with any more than any vaguely heavy loose object. This is probably one of the safest things you can use for short-range defense. It's not the most effective, but you got to think in terms of being in the house. Let's talk about things that were designed for self-defense historically in the Middle Ages or earlier or later. You can come up with something like this. Bam, cutlass. Now this was given to me by John Miner many years ago. The weight is here. I could brass knuckle for days with it. Why did sailors who had access to any sword they have never carried great swords, why did they always carry things like this? Because they had to be able to fight below decks. They had to be able to fight indoors. Further, big, nice, You got that nice protection of the hand. It's almost, if it was a full cup, it'd give better protection, but it wouldn't hang safely on your shoulder, on your head. So this style guard is very popular. Like I said, it also allows for some very nice punching as needed. It also makes it hard to drop this weapon. It's almost like sailors operated in an environment where things were slick and there were tight confines. That makes a cutlass a wonderful, wonderful addition for home defense. It's not a not going to tangle up. I love this thing. Right, I'm going to be all over the house playing like the sword fairy, putting all these weapons back, but that's okay. Now, another thing that I am rather fond of self-defense is my current favorite sword. This guy. This is, again, not much longer than a cane sword, but cup hilt, tiny grip for little tiny hobbity hands, 2-finger keyhole grip, and about a 24 inch blade. Yeah, just about a 25, maybe 30, 28. Anyway, I got to remeasure the blade. I just know that this is right. I love this weapon. I love this weapon so much because I can draw it. I can literally write my name with it. And yeah, a lot of times when something goes bump in the house, this is a popular combo for me when I'm not resorting to more ballistic responses. This when I was living in my trailer, I did not have a gun in the house when I lived in the trailer because my house was not secure, and I did not want to risk firing in a trailer park, something that could have easily gone through the tinfoil sheeting that was most trailers and caused problems. This gave me just enough control. I could swing it in even the tightest environments. It's light enough where even if I'm groggy or I'm having a bad day, think about something like this. They're hard to find. And again, if you find a good retailer, comment, put it in the links, let me know, because this is it. I would love a slightly sturdier version. This is a Toledo engraved. It rusted and discolored, and I've oiled it so heavily that it looks more brown than it should. I really need to clean, and maybe I'll clean and blue this thing up just to let you guys see it glued up. But very, very expensive sheath for this. This is totally just an old men's belt, double-sided men's belt that I realize split easily in the middle and has served for years. But going back to some slightly more practical stuff. But Nick, nobody has that in their house. I mean, nobody has their wife's Warhammer in their house. There are people whose wives don't have Warhammers. I forget this. Bah! Yes, well, I have no idea what I did that was funny, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. My wife has Warhammer. She's a little annoyed right now that it's by my desk. Her birthday's coming up. I won't say when. Tomorrow. But people who know her do wish her a happy birthday. And I might have to, as part of things, make a weapons rack for this guy. Which means, well, what do you have? I know what you have. I raided this on the way in and got almost in trouble. You have one of these. If you don't have a cooking knife, this is a knife, it's wider than my hand. No, that's a knife. 1, why don't you? 2, drop a buck and get a cheapo. This is one of my favorite cooking knives, actually. I like the weight, I like the balance. It's my buddy Steve would probably, well, his parents would use it as a garden knife, but it's a Chicago cutlery. It's a good knife. It's one of my favorites. I just like the nice heavy blade. Everybody in America almost who cooks has one of these in their kitchen. And if you ask a lady, a lot of times, something goes bump, what do you grab? A lot of them go for this. Well, I ran into a problem. I thought about this. I think this is a beautiful tool. It's one of my favorites. They don't make kid cooking knife trainers, or very rarely. There are a few that double as that, but they're not expressly made to be cooking knife trainers. And again, if I am wrong, I'm capable of being wrong. Put it in the links so other people can find it, so I can find it, or contact me and send me one and I'll review it. But one of these. Well, I mean, you can fence with something like this, but that doesn't really provide a trainer. I, however, came up with the solution as soon as I finished this point control test over here. That's a lot harder to do than it looks. I made this. It's not a perfect, in any way, shape, or form match, but it's close enough. The irony is great because this is, of course, made out of cutting board. This was a scrap from one of my swords where I was looking at it. I'm like, hey, with a little work. And now at just about every opportunity I have, I train with this. Why? Because I am up most nights. And when I'm up at night, I am often in the kitchen. One look at my belly confirms that. This is within a step and a half of me pretty much at all times in the kitchen. And I'd really hate to stab somebody with like it being post dinner and having like meat juices and stuff on it. Although the irony is delightful. And if I have to stab you for being in my kitchen in the middle of the night instead of, having a sandwich with you and asking what's wrong, yeah, you deserve meat juices in your wounds. Anyway, made this. I love this. Most of my friends love this. And it gets to the concept. Whatever you carry as a tangible hand defense, whatever it is, you want to carry, you want to train with it. So get yourself some big old cutting boards, mark out and cut out whatever you use, and then you can spar with it. You can find out, could I hold my own with a kitchen knife? I actually want to rebuild this. I think I need to make a slightly more authentic, it's something that's as authentic as ranch dressing on your tacos in Northwest Indiana. Authentic, but a little closer to the shape. But I also don't believe in waste. So this is an awesome tool. Wow, I'm making time. Getting all the way back to the sword cane conversation. I'm glad. You know what? I'm going to keep doing this every Friday as long as at least Trelena comes on and gets a laugh, because at least I'm making one person. I think I'm making Joe laugh too, because there are two people. I've got 3 likes. This is awesome. If I can make somebody laugh in this time, I'm doing my job. I'll show you this. Ha! Nick's moving fast again. What is this monstrosity? It looks like one of Nick's trainer canes. It's a cylinder. It's got feet. But it's not made out of wood. What is this? This is solid polypropylene. This is a polypropylene rod. Now, I'm told that they use these in like a stick welder, for their stick welding devices and like handrails for boats and things. This one's an inch in diameter. I really wish I'd bought 7/8 so I can make it go. This is perfect. This is the perfect stick material for dealing with what I call the whites. I'm not being racially insensitive here, I'm talking about the weapons for training that are made by Purple Heart Armory, by South Coast Swords Armory, the really pretty HEMA swords. You guys have seen them. They make you kind of ugly because you want them. Great weapons. But I needed a cane, and I didn't want to keep using wood because when you mix materials, one infallibly damages the other. You want to keep them in a family. So when you're fencing with steel, you don't want to use your cold steel buckler because it's going to cut it up. You know, you don't want to try to use a steel with an unguarded edge against polypropylene weapons. It'll get up. You want to keep them of a class. This thing has become one of my best friends. It shows up nicely on camera. It is stout, and it really just works. So I want you guys to consider. I got this for around $20 on Amazon. Just I typed in polypropylene rods, and they come in different thicknesses. I want to kind of see how narrow I can get just for comfort, and I might get one of these and put a proper cane head on it just to make a really nice training fighting cane for less than what they produce. Let me see. Sorry, like I said, I have some friends who are commenting through Facebook Messenger. How do I feel about knife laws? Okay, knife laws shall not be infringed. I really believe the Second Amendment has two branches where people can logically discuss. Personally, I see it all as one thing. You know, well, no, I don't. Yeah, I'm answering you. And please message through YouTube so I can see that you're here. But I believe at no point should a knife be illegal. A knife is one of the most fundamental, important tools, weapons you can have. This is personally my favorite EDC knife. I have many, many knives, and I do carry bigger ones when I'm camping, you know, but I still always carry this. I actually can't sleep without this in reach because it's just such a vital, simple tool. Oh, this is a CRKT minimalist. It's got a spear point. I put off buying this because I didn't like how thin the metal looked. I usually prefer a thicker stock, and then I realized how little metal was on most holders anyway. Now, I will say this. This is a knife, and I've carried ones like this. My dad's carried ones. This is a cheapo I got at the Porter County Business Expo. I can't read the embossed writing of what company gave it to me, but I had carry this in my wallet, and it is a handy little knife. You know, a little duller than I like. I need to work on this one, and it has some useful tools. Would I consider this a weapon? Barely. If you have a folding knife and you think you're using it for self-defense, either get one with a locking mechanism where the blade can't close, or something like this where it's a fixed blade. Yes, there are exceptions, like a balisong, a butterfly knife. That's a whole different thing, but I believe carrying a fixed blade is just about the best way to go. I also think it's ridiculous that an assist open knife, I carried a Gerber mini fast draw for years. I loved that knife. Hit the button one-handed, it pops out. It even had a little safety, never went fired off in my pocket. But I found out that carrying it in Michigan was a felony for a while. And I didn't even know. And that's what got me into Second Amendment discussions. More than anything else, knife rights, which sounds silly. But I really believe that there is literally no argument that our forefathers would ever want us to ban any kind of knife. So I really, truly hope you carry a knife. They're trying to make it where you can. I'm going to get off topic, but like places like England are passing completely ludicrous laws. Part of it is, well, people are stabbing each other. And how did they get such high stabbing rates? Well, you see, we got rid of all the guns. And if a population can't have guns, they won't kill each other. Well, shoot, we're going to get rid of the knives. You know what'll happen? Either bad guys will have knives, obviously, because it's a sharpened piece of something. Like, that's a 0 level crafting item. You have to be, like, prisoners make knives constantly. Banning a knife is a sign of mental illness and or defect. Some people carry sticks. Hey, who knows how to fight with sticks? We do. Sorry, got a little maudlin there. We're not for that. But other improvised tools. Okay. Ted steak. This is a nasty little implement. I got this for either 25 or 39 cents at Wally World. And it was because I had just left a situation where I was not legally allowed to have anything. And I suddenly had to shop. And that made me very, very, very uncomfortable. And I didn't want to spend money on a self-defense item, so I grabbed one of these. And they're just nice. I actually have several for tying things down. But it fits decently in the hand. Bonehead, make with the pokey poke. You can use one of these. Basically, this I planned an hour's worth, roughly, of conversation. I have succeeded in an hour's worth, roughly, of conversation. I want to hear from you, Trey, Joe, anyone else who might be watching. What do you want? I'm going to try to keep this for at least 7 more minutes. I want to stay live because I know with the hour time change and scheduling, people get confused. But I really would love some feedback. So I'm going to give just a minute. I'm checking to see, do I have any feedback? Yes, you saw my tarp go down. I hope you found that as amusing as I did. Actually, I'm sure you didn't. No, the maker. That's a good question. I have not. Man, it's seen better days. I need to repolish this. Oh, left the foot in the bottom. Anyway, I need to repolish this. But I do not know there is no maker's mark on this. It's solid brass handle to the best of my knowledge. And it says, the blade is a fairly standard. Here, let me see if I can get the maker's mark for you, because people were asking. Yeah, just a made in Taiwan stainless steel blade. This is not exactly high quality. I'm granted, I would never give this up for anything. This is one of my all-time most treasured relics of a part of my life that is no longer part of my life. But yeah, that's a good question. So there's no price marker. Nope. I have to redo that on that one. Let me see. I think this was a bud case special, to be honest. I got this at a little shop in Michigan City back in. And again, I wanted a sword cane. It was the first one I had seen, and you know how it is when you're young, you're driving, you get what you can get. This one just says Taiwan. I mean, but I'm pretty sure this is a bud case special. And I've had people, why don't you just pop the blade out? Because you really can there. Let me see if I can show you the construction. I don't want to slice my computer here. So they're just kind of this threaded, glued in construction here. So I'm annoyed at myself for not just making my own. But when I get the forge running this summer or spring or week, who knows, I will definitely put that on. And it is almost 9 o'clock. So that's groovy. Let me see. And if you have messages and you don't want it on Facebook, you can message me through my YouTube Messenger. What do we got? Okay, I got thanks from Peter. Peter, I hope you're watching. If not, hop on. Still on. Let's see. Oh, people were asking, what is my favorite historical source? I got that. So we're going to talk about that briefly. My current favorite source is my favorite we'll start with this. My favorite master is through Tom Leone's translation of Gigante. Gigante's Rapier at the Soleil, I believe is what it's called, is a seminal work. And well, okay. I will put this up live if it's tanked out for anybody else to catch, but comment anyway. It sounds like we're having some technical difficulties. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out here. I don't really have a lot of other people talking. And I'm going to I might just, oh wait, I got a third viewer. Just like I thought, somebody's goof up the time. All right, if you're on, please comment so I know you're here. The fact that I'm getting a viewer change means that it must still be working. Cool. So we're going back to the questions. My favorite trainers were the later period. I had the silly idea that masters built on the actions of other masters. We finally got a good chicken call. And that each work potentially got better. Now, I don't agree with everything, and like I said, there's nothing wrong with Meyer. Meyer has some really good stuff. It's just Meyer seems like one of those masters who's geared to a certain body type. Agrippa. Several of the Italian masters are obviously built, and you can tell by the people they use in their diagrams, towards. You're trying to think of a question, but you got nothing. Well, Joe, that is okay. At least you're trying. I'm trying. We're going to get through this, Your homework, Joe. Joe, you got homework. I'm going to give you homework. I'm going to make Trelena do it. Make Trelena do it. Make Trelena enforce it. Come up with some questions for next week, okay? I know there's stuff you've wondered about. As long as it's vaguely close on contact. Shoot, I'm checking my other feed. Got a heart from my man Brian K. Morris of Rising Tide Publishing. He does not pay me, but I will plug his show at least once a show. Go down there. Can Trelena be my homework? Considering I'm asking you to turn the results in, that might be problematic, Joe. He would enjoy the enforcement. Yeah, see, this is me. I'm spreading love. I'm spreading joy. And apparently I'm helping one couple come together in this time of quarantine and misery and find joy and love and things I'm not going to go into. Wow, the phrase "go into" on top of all that. We're just right off the edge. But because I'm doing this plug and I said I would, On Facebook, look up Brian K. Morris. He does a live show at least 3 times a week. And I'm almost always there for authors, etc. I got big hearts. So I'm hoping that those hearts came from Brian noticing that I'm plugging his show. But yes. Anyway, my favorite. Um, there is a book I have a love-hate relationship with. It's Guy Windsor put it out. It's The Swordsman's Companion. And it is a great book. It is a solid book. But it was presented to me by a guy who treated it like the Bible, in that he would bring it to practice. Kiss the cover, set it down pat. And if any style didn't match it, it was wrong and unperiod and unethical and unclean. So I would be me and be like, okay, so Edo draw cuts are totally shameful. Yeah, see, I'm that guy. Find what you love, find what works for you, but never let that be a reason to discredit others. I know some guys like Ryan Coker. He was a he was a recent acquisition, and he's looking like he's moving back from whence he came. So I hope he sometimes gets on this thing and comments. But massively good at Meyer, and he made it look pretty, and he made it work. It worked for him, but Meyer tends to work for people that build. And my goal is to help the people who things don't often work for. So short people, fat people, gimpy people. Oh, that's offensive. It's not offensive because I don't put any malice to it. If you don't let people you don't let people shame you for who you are, you take power from them. And I'm all about empowering the individual. Look at me getting all deep. Sorry. Believe it or not, talking for an hour and 10 is dry work. Now I keep just trying not to think about Trey giving Joey homework. Ow. You guys are walking Brazzers logo. Okay. Well, we've picked up one more viewer, and we've had substantially less than last time, but thank you all for liking. I have a like per viewer. I can't ask more than that. I'm thinking I'm just going to cut this out. We've had an hour. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. It will give me time to try to process this up and put the links. But before I do, as my cane slides burping across the floor to be as embarrassing as humanly possible, I got to talk about my sponsors. Nick, you have sponsors? Yes, I do. I am sponsored by most of my own creations. That being the artwork that I do by commission. If you contact me, we can work something out. If you go to amazon.com/author/Nicholas Tuckert, you will see the works of me, including the Simple Sword, which is the manual in which I teach people how to sword fight. Please, well, yes, of course I started it. Please, consider buying it. It's $25 because it's got color pictures, and Amazon made me raise the price. But the ebook is only around $5, and I'm keeping it as low as they will let me for the purpose of making it accessible. It's also free to read through the Kindle Unlimited program. So please look into that. Comments are always welcome. I am actively, as always, working on the sequel, The Strong Sword. I also have a Patreon account, the Historical Fencing Guild Patreon. Now, right now, I have two devoted patrons whom I love dearly. You guys literally financially allow me to buy things like polypropylene sticks and cold steel training daggers. I can't boom boom. Literally everything else I have shown. Oh, flexi dagger blades. Gonna say everything else, and I took the tape off, so I'm gonna have to retape it. But it needed that anyway. Everything else has either been donated, and I am grateful to the people who've donated items. Please look that up. If I am in the process of getting YouTube to let me download my own videos and backing them up, I'm going to then put them all up onto the Patreon as soon as I figure out how to do that, so that people can download those. I will also be releasing, as I have drafts, either portions or the full strong sword as in a beta for my patrons. I don't like doing a lot just there because I want these skills to be accessible. I want them to be easy to get, and I want and yeah, it's not about me making money, but let's be honest, I could use whatever comes my way. Most of you know my situation. I'm not going to harp on it. Okay? So, next week we'll probably be talking about East versus West conversations. I would love to get a hold of my buddy Sword Sage. I don't know if I'll be able to. We'll see. If not, you should follow him anyway. Train. Take this time. Get a dowel rod. Get a sword. Get something. Drill. Especially my students. All you guys, I'm drilling, and I'm fat, gimpy, and messed up. You guys should be drilling too, because once we get to the other side of this, practices are going to reopen, the forges are going to be set up, and we're really going to be knocking stuff out. We have to keep the goal in sight at all times. It may be weeks, it may be months, however long it takes for us to get through all this. If we're smart, if we're kind, and if we're a little vigilant, we'll all get through this. So, as always, support your local swordmaster.